That's what's happening. I have myself muted. Okay, let's start this again. It's me, Monstrosity X. Woo, slow this down. All right, now we know that that's working. We're gonna get back to y'all guys and say first, um, that was Mike, the graphic novel. We're working on that right now, trying to get the sign up page, but just been having a little bit of difficulties, but we're gonna get that done. We're gonna and but today what we're gonna focus on is a story that I call Man's Womb, and this is a story of it's a SJW tale. You can see it says right here in this present day because I see what's going on with Comics Gate because I'm down with that. Comics Gate for life. Woo woo. And that's what's getting me back into drawing and trying to make a life out of it because I've would have loved to have been one of those guys that said, I have a 20-year career and I've been drawing in the business and all of that, but I don't have that. But I have been drawing for a long time. So uh, now, and I've been developing all of these characters. Well, not drawing them, but I've been writing them down, different names and abilities and all of that. So I figured I got storytelling abilities. I got, and all of these ideas keep coming into my head. So when you hear about the social justice warriors in the comic books, and then you see all of the social justice bullcrap that's going on with and I hate it because they using black folks to push their agenda. And I'm one of these black dudes who's an old school dude, and I was grew up with all of those old comic books, the Fantastic Four, and I didn't need no representation to get down with Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm. I didn't need no representation to get down with Spider-Man or Thor or any of those guys. The X-Men, I thought I was a mutant back then. When I turned 13, I had a change, and I thought I was a mutant. So I identified. I loved the mutants, and I had gotten a whole X-Men series with Jean Grey turn into the Phoenix and then the Dark Phoenix. I was right there for all of that. John Burns is one of my favorite artists from back then. John Burns, John Mishima, and Frank Frazetta. Those were the top dudes as far as I was concerned. Of course, there was others, but those are the guys that I really loved to look at their work, how they form their muscles and the faces and all of that stuff. So yeah, so this is a story that just lets me know, because I say I'm comics good. Comicsgate. I'm not Comicsgate. Comicsgate is me, because I wouldn't want to create a comic book and then have somebody come after I die, like they doing with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and all of the people who created these great characters and franchises like Superman and Batman, and they turning them out. They pimping them out like they hoes, man. They ain't worth nothing. They just turning them out. They not trying to make characters. Now I'm a black dude, and I love to see. And I have a little bit of problem with uh, Black Panther, and I have a little bit of problem with Power Man and all of that, because they make them bitches. They don't really get good character bad guys, because your good guys are not as good. Then your good guys are only as good as your bad guys that you send up against them. When they have the good adversaries that really challenge them, that's when you have good bad guys that make your good guys even better. That's when you really can fall in love with the characters, and that's what I like. I fell in love the X-Men. My most favorite character, I believe, in the Marvel universe is Apocalypse. I just love the dude, everything about him. So I couldn't wait to when Comicsgate came around, and I looked and saw what they was doing and what Ethan and all of them were doing. I said, I got characters, and I couldn't wait to make my own Apocalypse type character and all of these guys and stuff. So it's just that it takes a lot. I'm trying to get it done in a short amount of time, and a year is not really that long for writing 4 or 5 different stories and bringing all of these characters together and trying to merge their story ideas together with stories that you already had in your back pocket. Because that's what Mike is. Mike was a character that I created, I drew on the subway, and I didn't give him a name. He was this muscle bound dude with 2 females on his arm, 1 female on each arm, and I just later on I came up with the name and I slapped him with it. And I don't even think I wrote the name in my Bible until after. So until long after that I gave him the name. I was like, oh snap, I don't think I ever wrote the name in my Bible. So I had to go back in there and squeeze it in there. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. I come up with great characters, and then when I die, I would be turning in my grave to find out that some social wimpy ass moisturized feminist bullcrap comes up and turns all my characters gay, or turns them white, or turns my main characters white, or turns my white characters black or Hispanic or whatever. If you created like what they're doing to J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Now, I love Lord of the Rings. I grew up, and one of the first animated movies that I loved, fell in love with, was The Lord of the Rings. Now you might say, what you talking about, Willis? Check it out. There's an animated movie from the 70s, I believe it's like 78, 79, called The Lord of the Rings, and it's animated, done in rotoscope, where they animated over people acting. And so they moved like people. So, and that's one of the first movies where you seen people getting, cut open and blood flying and stuff like that. Little bits, not a whole lot, but it still was one of the first movies I seen it as. And I love fantasy shit. And so, because of movies like that and other stuff that I've seen, animated things like Record of Lodoss War, that's an anime series that I bought back in the 90s, and then Lord of the Rings, and then Legend of Crystania. It's like a follow-up to Record of Lodoss Wars, and that really put it over the top. It had gods and people who worship gods, and every person, the gods took on animal totems, and depending on the gods the people worshipped, they could change into the animal totem. So they was like vampires or werewolves, but they were turning into eagles and lions and bears and all of this shit. And they was all going to war because these people had crossed through this great wall that wasn't supposed to open, but one of the gods split the wall open and let them into this god area that was supposed to be set aside just for the gods and their worshipers. So this kid from the first Record of Lodoss War, he took his small band and they went into this crack in the wall, and everything turned haywire and shit. And it was a lot of action, and it was just great. So along with Star Wars and all of these great movies that I've been seeing over the years, I had to create my own fantasy shit and my own stuff. So I started my Bible back in the 90s, where now that I got over 10,000 names and all of these ideas. So, and this is just an idea that I came up with because I'm tired of seeing this feminist crap going on, and I see what they're doing. If you see what they're doing to men with all of these laws between you don't have no rights whatsoever when it comes to your children and all of that. And I see the writing on the wall, and I've seen things on YouTube where they're basically, because this same sex thing, they're basically going to be making laws that basically, if you even show any type of affection towards some girl's children, you could be sued for child support. Look it up. This dude named O'Shea Jackson did this interview with a lawyer, and he said because of these same-sex and transsexual laws, that it will be, and the laws are so vague that you will be able to be brought up, that the girl, if you babysitted her kids and you showed that type of care and towards her and her kids, that she can take you to court and say, yeah, he's cares for my kids or shown this type of support towards me and my children, and they possible to get you on the hook for child support. And now this is crazy because afterwards, what will come next? They'll go up the chain of up your family chain, your uncles, great uncles, and grandfathers. Yo, you gotta pay, or if you're just a man without children, yo, you gotta pay. So I started thinking, what's gonna come next? And that's where I came up with this story. And it starts where, and I think I'm going to change it because I think what happened after Trump lost was worse than if he would have won. Because the way that I see things happening with these left stuff and the people where they're bending over backwards for this leftism stuff, and that's what I have. I got this story. It's called Man's Womb, and there's literally men who are refusing to have sex and I can't, that shit blows my mind. and 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 that they actually trying to legalize, or there's actually like some kind of a a thing out there where they're trying. I don't know if y'all know what a short eyes is, but that's what back they call back in the days one of those, you know, dudes that peds, you know. so so and I'm not with that, you know. They called them short eyes back in the days. So, and I don't know if those are one of the buzz terms, but it might become that. So I don't know if I'm gonna get popped for this or not. So anyway, and I don't agree with that. But so this story begins with this kid. It begins with Trump winning the 2020 elections, and riots break out. And or I think I should have tried to record this. Hold on. Let me try to record this because if I can get this right, I'm going to clip it and put it out on the separate. All right. So, all right. This is called Just Us Warriors, Man's Womb. This is a story of present day SJW craziness and how it turns men's rights into a joke. And it's called, and this phenomenon called incel, and how it's growing, and the threats of feminists, and the threats that feminists use in a scenario that spirals out of control and brings the downfall of society, because that's what's happening. Um, we're seeing men and women who are not understanding how to even come together to be families, and the collapse of families in the United States, and basically how the world looks at us. So this was a story about if Trump would have won the 2020 elections. And like I was saying a second ago, it might have been worse if I might make it worse if I made it the way it is, because now that the Democrats have won, it seems like they're making laws and all kinds of things favoring all of this stuff that's really tearing down the fabric of life across the boards. Prices are going out of control because of these weak people, and they're pushing these vaxes because of weak people, and it's all behind this leftist agenda. And I'm sorry that I was ever being considered part of that, because they definitely would call me a sellout or a right wing or whatever, or some kind of Nazi, or I shouldn't say that. See how you got to watch what you say just to put on something. So anyway, what happens is after the Trump thing happens, there's a lot of rioting, and for a year, turmoil rages. There's a lot of rioting. You see burning and people killing each other over this uh, people not having the right to their own belief system or their own political system. Christianity is being attacked, and people are being attacked. and they are making laws. See, that's why I say it would be better if I'd left it as Trump lost. And but where I'm going to go with this is that there's the leftists are cheating, and they're publicly cheating and stating that they're cheating in the next elections to win in 2024. And charges are being, set up to where they are still being making uh the facts that, well, see, that's why I say it doesn't work, because I don't think Trump would have said that. But the local state uh laws, I don't think he could have stopped that from happening. So still, the laws are being men are being charged with aggressive acts just for raising their voice around women. That you could be fined and ticketed, and that's what they're doing in lots of ways, man. The police are getting way too far into our lives, and because of weak people, and women assaults against men rise, with many ending in minor charges, if any at all. And men are losing custody of the children just for the wrong social opinions. And you see that happening today. So men are being men retreat from social media to social media sites that are more friendly, and are getting stalked by the leftist agenda, just to shut down the website so that they're isolated in many ways. Men are told that they're misogynist. All of this we've seen on social media. So what happens is we have a guy called Jeff Coleman. He works in the IT business, and he's had the same experiences what we talking about. He's a timid type of dude, but everybody, and he gets browbeaten by the women in his life. He gets taken advantage of by the women in his life. He's not that bad looking a dude. He's just, kind of timid. He never really learned how to talk to women. And so what happens is that he's a smart dude, and he's developing this personal IT, artificial AI, this in his at home. And he has, um at his job, he gets a lot of, he has to watch it, even though not him personally. He sees his friends on the job, like he has this guy on the job who's more suave, and he kind of taken Jeff under his wing, try to bring, get him to date, get out and date more. He also has a friend called Leonard Tillman. He's known for years, and that's also trying to get him out there. He has a little bit more success with women, but this Driscoll dude, he's on his, he knows him from the job, and on the job, Driscoll has been getting HR sicked on him all the time, just for looking at women wrong, or saying have a nice day or something like that. Women are jumping on him, even though they like him because he's smooth. But on the job, when they have any chance, if he says anything, because he's not the typical just suave dude, he's more aggressive with it. He's kind of a dick. So he's not the type of dude that's really smooth, but he's one of those aggressive, manly men. He's muscular, he's athletic, and he works out and all of that. So he's the type of man that if you notice, they don't want you to see in the media no more. Those types of muscle bound dudes, they kind of getting them out of movies and TV shows for these really frail male types. And so that's what's going on with in across the board in these HR situations in these corporations. They're all attacking these men who will come across too aggressive or too manly in many ways. With now in when it comes to the nighttime, excuse me, these very same women are looking for this guy. And that's the type of man that they want to be with, because Jeffrey Coleman he gets taken advantage of. He's the type of dude that becomes the best friend, or he gets friend zoned, and he'll take women out on dates, and he won't get no trim for it. So what they call, what is that, dating, when they basically dating you for for food. uh yeah, they basically date you, and they'll go out on dates so that you can pay for their food. So misogyny is up, and traditional women's is no more. They want chivalry, but they don't want that same type of man helping them and holding the doors for them and all of this crap. And women are getting more aggressive. So here's where have where the two men are trying to help him, because they want Leonard. He understands Jeffrey more because they've worked together, and he's into robotics, and he wants Jeffrey to finish his AI so that they can come together and make the perfect robot. But it's been like 3 years. He's been working on it for like 5 years altogether. It's been 2 years before we first meet the character. And then over the next 3 years, there'll probably be a montage of him working on it and going to work. And then we'll come to the point where he's having a breakthrough, where he's finally getting to the success that the AI is beginning to work. But by this time, his friend Driscoll Parker has been brought up on charges for saying that dress looks nice on you or something like that, or you look nice today, to one of the females, and he was brought up to and lost his job. And so not only that, there's been a lot of attacks of men on the in the street, and men getting caught out there at night getting drunk. And what happens is men are disappearing and getting jumped and beat up and all types of things, and then dumped in the street, and is on the rise. But they're not reporting it because they get made fun of by the police. You let a woman beat you up, they getting laughed at and snickered at, and really they're being, I guess, trying to dissuade them from making charges and following through, because they don't want to be chasing after women. In many ways, they would rather sweep it under the rug. And that's what's going on with the story so far. So uh, Jeffrey's had a breakthrough where the AI is becoming more cohesive. The It's becoming more like a real person. He's getting the all of the kinks out of it. Even he's starting developing a slight sense of humor. So he believes that he's very close to the breakthrough that they're working on, and or he's working on, because this is his personal project that he's been working on. And so that's it for now. We'll come back next time, and we'll get into the next steps of what goes on, and you'll see what's going on with these people out in the street kidnapping these men. All right. Okay. Did I show something? Did I just give away my whole thing right there? All right. So yeah. Come back next time. Keep looking out for this, because we're gonna keep doing little clips and moving ahead. I might even start doing some scenes or something like that if I get to know the story, because I'm getting to learn the story the more I tell it, and I'll get better. Maybe I should have dialogue and all of that too, but I don't want to I'm going to have some dialogue, but I don't want to do it all through it. I'm going to do it in the more important parts. So yeah, so after this we're gonna, oh, I don't even think I shared the screen. No, I didn't. But that's what's going on. Let me show you where I was talking about. Here we go. That was man's womb. All right. All right. So what we're gonna do next is figure out what's gonna be coming next from the Might universe. And we want to have some stories like, okay, well, let's share the screen. Share the screen. Share the screen. All right. So what we are gonna do is open up the page here. All right. Let's open up this. All right. What we're gonna do. Okay. The first story we're gonna talk about. This is what's coming next. And again, we're gonna only talk about one story at a time, then we're gonna go back to another story. All right. So what we have is that we have a lot of stories that we got. A lot of the stories that I'm working on now are comic book. Well, this could be a comic book too, but it's for the Might universe. All the stories that I'm working on now is for the Might universe. So these are stories that I was writing before the Might universe. So one of them is it's called I heard something scraping my door. Hold on. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. That was a neighbor. Neighbor came to the door. He heard my brother passed, and he just got around to. Whew, he's offering the condolences and everything. He thought he lost the number, so sorry about that. But what we working on now, daggone, I have to stop the recording. I think I started that. I hope I stopped it. Okay. Let me see if I'm still getting any sound over here. Yeah. Cool. Still getting sound. That's good. That means this recording went good, and we're going to be able to do that regularly. All right. Let me see. Let's get back to sharing. Oops. Sorry about that. I'm all befuddled. Let me get back in here. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to be working on different stories in the future. Might is a story that I've been working on since over the last year, and Might is going to have Might is going to be what I'm focused on the top. That's what I'm doing my most, and that's going to have 3 characters that's going to spin off, and that's going to be Everman, Cameo. That's a female character. Cameo. And my Nebula. And that one I can't wait to get to because, well, I'm already writing. I couldn't wait to get to. I've been writing, I think, because I have more information about Might and everything. So I kind of, because I love outer space, I love outer space. That's the thing that I grew up with, that because we didn't have a whole lot of channels when I was a kid. So when there was nothing to watch on the main 3 or 4 channels or 5, however many it was, you went to PBS, and that's where you got to see Nova or one of those types of outer space types of things, or nature shows. Or that, but other than outer space, nature is like one of my favorite things to watch, especially back then. So I learned a lot about animal behavior and stuff like that. Besides that, I grew up with dogs all my life. So anyway, my Nebula character and being able to visit other places and battle things in outer space and all of that stuff, I've always wanted to do that. So I can't wait to get really deep into that. Even though I won't be able to do a lot of the drawing, I know that the story is going to be crazy. And there's going to be tie-ins. I'm going to try and make it so that there's not going to be a situation where you have to read one other book in order to follow the other. But I'm definitely going to have stuff where there might be team ups. There's definitely going to be team ups, and there's going to be situations where people from Mike's story might be affected by stuff that happens here. And that's because there's going to be a lot of characters in Mike, bad guys and good guys. So things are going to happen. So I'm thinking that there's going to be characters in this story that's going to wind up being so when we get to this story, we're going to be going to outer space. During the launch, we're going to talk a lot about this character. We're going to reveal his name and his. I'm going to talk about his origins and stuff like that, and what his main objectives are in his mission statement. So, and these 3 characters who are going to be in Mike's first book are going to spin off when the second book comes out. The second Mike campaign, during the first book, they're going to be in it as guest stars. And during the second one, they're going to spin off These three are going to get their own books, and you're going to get to see them in their own stories, doing their own things. And these two are going to be in different cities, and this one is going to be in outer space. That's why I said Mike is going to be on the planet. So telling stories on the planet is going to be plentiful, right? That's how it goes. But this character, my Nebula character, is going to give me that opportunity to venture into outer space and introduce y'all to other characters, because that's why I say it's going to be Might, and Might, and the Might universe. Uni. So that's going to be the shit, because I'm telling you, the stories that I have, the characters, the bad guys, the way the universe is structured, the world building, everything is whew. So anyway, that's going to be the first thing. But before that, before I started Might and all of that, before I started all of that, I had other stories on the back burner that I was writing. One being my Stone God story. And that was the very first story that I ever started writing back when I was a teenager. I think I was about 20, 19, 20, somewhere around there. But I didn't know anything about writing, so I kind of was fumbling around. But I started drawing up a lot of stuff, the characters, a lot of character designs. Oh yeah, let me see if I can show y'all the the main characters from, nope, the main characters from that. I show them sometimes. Because that story was basically based on Fire and Ice, the Ralph Bakshi story, because that's, if you ever seen Fire and Ice, Darkwolf basically looks just like these guys. So these are all kind of ripoffs of Darkwolf until I changed them later on, because I still wanted them to be more primitive. I don't want them to necessarily be knights in armor, but I don't necessarily want them to be in loincloths either. But that's what the influence of Fire and Ice when I first did this back in the 80s. So that's where the Stone God story started. Is Lord of the Rings, Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That influenced my whole, and like I said, uh, Legend of Crystania and Record of Lodoss Wars. Those were my influences with the gods and all of that for that story. But as far as as far as other stories that I have, I then started. I'm not going to talk about those, but I will talk about this one is going to be called The Glyph, and that one is more uh self-contained, beginning to end type of story uh that has, like I said, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if someone does want to draw it, uh, uh, I could talk about it, because there's a system that I've developed on the abilities and how you get them and all of that. So that I'm not going to talk about that. But what it is that there are like a group of people who have basically come to the understanding that you have abilities within you, but the average person just doesn't realize it, and they don't know themselves. They don't know themselves enough, so they never tap into them. And there are a group of people, a certain groups of people, there are certain people out there who learn to tap into the power within themselves, but it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, and they unlock these certain abilities, and that's what the glyph is. Is they're kind of like these uh, urban legend type of characters. Some people might have heard about them, but nobody really believes in them until you see something fantastic happening. So the first known glyph was in our modern era. Well, not really known, but uh, was a man who was on death row. He's a murderer, killed people outside of prison and inside of prison, and he was in isolation on death row and all of this stuff. And he basically one day just walked out of that bitch, and nobody knows how, where, when, or what. So and and people would see him from time to time, but it, it, he would be when people went there to investigate, he'd just be gone. So this is about some another glyph on a campus, on a college campus. And what happens is that this kid doing reports about urban legends, uh, researching the glyph, kind of becomes like that reporter in the Incredible Hulk with uh, Bill Bixby, David Banner back in the 70s. Yeah, this guy, he's like that. He starts believing in the glyph, and he wants to find out more about it, and he starts asking questions and stuff, and then one day something happens, and he finally, for the first time, witnesses something that he shouldn't be witnessing, and that leads him down this rabbit hole, but it also puts him in a lot of danger. And so glyphs are isolated, kind of solitary people because they can't trust anybody. The government is chasing them, or the other people are trying to get to them to find out their secrets, and most of all, other glyphs are not to be trusted. So yeah, this is a very good story that I created a while back, and uh, for the most part, Glyph kind of stay out of the public eye. They just be happy with what they've come to possess. But there are others who are greedy and they want it all. So, yeah, so The Glyph is a great story. I think that would be a great TV show that will run for a good few years, or a great comic book run. Like I said, I got a lot of stories. I am the creator extraordinaire. That's why they call me the Godling. Nah, but yeah, the glyph is one of the main stories that we're gonna be putting out there if we blow up, like I believe Might is gonna blow up. I believe it's gonna be big because I like really good stories like 24, uh, Lord of the Rings, all of those great types of Star Wars, those epic tales. That's what I grew up on. So I believe that the glyph is going to be one of them. All right. So, yeah, that's just one of the stories that I plan on bringing to y'all in the future. And like I said, the Stone God Chronicles, or the Chronicles of Stone, I think that's what my Stone God story, Stone God. I'm gonna be trying my best to get that out there too, but that's another story that's dear to me. So I want to be able to draw it myself, and I don't know if I'm gonna have time to with Might going on, because Might is gonna be huge. Might is gonna be a huge story. So, um, Stone God, but this is my first one. Yeah, if you see Fire and Ice, and if you see the first animated Lord of the Rings movie, you'll understand why I had to, and especially if you see 3 animes. If you get to see anything, I know it's hard, but I think I got it on Amazon. The I'm not saying it's the greatest. I haven't watched mine yet, but I'm gonna check it out and I'll try to do a review. I'm gonna check it out maybe this week. I'll do some reviews this week. I'll try to take some clips, record some clips and stuff, and do a review of my Record of Lodoss War. This is a anime that I was introduced to way back in the 90s. When I first got into anime, I was into the movie length animes because they was always the best ones. The TV shows was always the slower pace ones. Sometimes they had take an episode or two to get to the action, and I never liked that until I started watching Naruto. And even then, that was like that too. You would have to the first 4 seasons of Naruto, you had to watch that and have like, and I got that on DVD. You'd have to watch it and watch it, and then the 3rd or 4th episode, you get some nice fighting and stuff like that. And yeah, it's hard for me to watch that type of stuff now. But then when it went to Shippuden, when Naruto Shippuden went out, then I can start watching it. And I watch the movies. And I'd rather watch the movies because there's gonna get to the action. There's gonna be action in it. When you watch the episodes, and then back then I would buy a videotape, a VHS for $20. And that's the same price what they charging now. So, and that's back in the 90s. They was expensive. So the dude hooked me up. There was a store called Suncoast, and the dude knew that those animes, that once you bought it and opened it up, you kind of stuck with it. So he said, "Yo, man, don't worry about it. I'll hook you up," because I was coming in there spending $100, $200, $20 a pop. And he was like, "Yo, man, you finding with the ones that you like?" I said, "Yeah, but I don't want to just buy anything because I don't want to get a bunch of garbage that I'm stuck with." So he said, "Yo, just check them out. I'm gonna try and put you onto the stuff that I like, and then whatever else that you check out, if you don't like it, just bring it back, and I'll I'll hook you up." I said, "Cool," and that's what he did. And I was just sifting through stuff, and I checked out everything, and I had a nice, good 20, 30 great movies. And then I started getting into the Escaflownes, this TV series, and some of the ones with the big boobies jumping around and stuff like that. But I got movies, anime movies like Final Fantasy, and it has nothing to do with the Final Fantasy that Look it up on YouTube. They got a Final Fantasy. It came in a twin cassette, not a cassette, the VHS pack. And it was a long movie, and it was action packed. I liked it. This kid with this really long sword, little tiny kid too, with this really long sword. He was hacking shit up, and he had this little group of people, but it wasn't the same Cloud and all of those dudes from the Final Fantasy video game. This was a movie, and it was called Final Fantasy something, something, something. But look it up on YouTube. Final Fantasy movie, anime movie, and it should pop up. And not the live, not the CG, because there is 2 Final Fantasy CG movies that I have. One is called Advent Children, which is very good, and the other one is the Spirits or something, which is good. It's all right. It's not as good as the one that's made after the video game, the Advent Children. That has Cloud and all of them in there with their big giant swords and all of that shit. Yeah. So anyway, those types of things influence me. The Legend of Crystania and the Record of Lodoss Wars, plus the Lord of the Rings and Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice was a big influence because it was just a straightforward good versus evil, fire versus ice story. And so I really learned a lot about that. And besides, the animation was the shit, and it was based on Frank Frazetta and his characters. So I just fell in love with all of that. So Yeah, Stone God, I had created a lot of lore. I have all of these different regions that I wanted my characters to be traveling through in order to get power, in order to stop the evil that's and encroaching on their lands and stuff, and to take out the new Stone God that came up. Because, well, I'm not going to tell you this story. That'll be another time. I'll try to see what I can tell, because the glyph is something I can tell, because without that system that I built, you could tell that story all you want. It's not going to be the story that I can tell. So anyway, the Stone God is going to be a great fantasy. Well, it is, because that's mostly finished. I just don't have the end, because it's an epic ending. It's a gotta be multifaceted, and oh man, I'm telling you, if I could just tell you, I never really got to talk to anybody outside of my family about it. I don't talk about my stories because people don't really want to hear them. And so Stone God story is an epic fantasy story. Uh Yeah, I'm not gonna tell. I'm not gonna tell. I want to say something, but I'm not gonna tell. So then, uh, I created a twin assassin, and I can't see. I told the names for the Stone God story that I can possibly use, but I can't tell you the twin assassin. I can't tell you that. I got a twin assassin, ass ass in. I got a twin assassin story. I got twin assassin story, and it's in the future. And I can tell you that this was one of I went straight from Stone God to this, because after seeing a bunch of shows, like first influence for this was Blade Runner. Blade Runner. So it's going to take place in the future. Blade Runner. I'm not going to talk about it. Not now. I'll talk about it another time. But Blade Runner. But I'm just talking about it. I'm just giving you the influences. Blade Runner, and then Soldier. Yeah, Blade Runner that you know with uh uh what's his face? Han Solo. uh Soldier. Soldier. Now this is a movie with Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell. And that's a 90s movie, I believe, 90s or early 2000s. Kurt Russell. I think it's E-L. Okay, that's a good movie. It's a futuristic movie on another planet. So these combined, right? Not only that, because I wanted to use tactical references and stuff like that, like how people talk in not military, but in uh, anti-terrorist type shows. I wanted to do research, so I used 24 with Kiefer, Kiefer Sutherland. If y'all don't know, as a TV show that ran for how many? 8? I think 8 seasons. Great show that all of these women are trying to duplicate and replicate, like with the Blacklist. These females cannot do it. They try to cheat and have women knocking out dudes that's 3 times their size. Get the fuck out of here. So 24, the best TV show that's ever been on, except for, well, next to Game of Thrones, except for the last seasons, and Stargate SG-1. If y'all don't know, y'all better get up on it. Y'all better learn that poem. Y'all better get up on it. Y'all better watch Stargate. So Stargate, did Stargate have anything to do with me? No. Stargate wasn't an influence in this. For the tactical references, the terminology that they use, fall back to this location, this, that, let's go to this, all of the different technical terms that they use. It was this 24. It was La Femme Nikita. It was the A. I don't know. La Femme Nikita. Is it Nikita? Nikita. La Femme Nikita with Wilson, something Wilson. Peter Wilson. There it is. Peter Wilson. Now this is gonna be a show that's hard to find, but this was out in the 90s. Peter Wilson on USA, I believe. Wilson. And it was a good anti-terrorist type of show. It was kind of low key. What happened is that this female was kidnapped, was set up for a murder, and what happened was this super secret government spy group kidnapped her because she was a murderer, and they put her on death row, and they killed her, but they didn't. They inducted her into this super spy organization, and if she didn't want to be in the spy organization, or if she fucked up at any time, they'd put her in the grave that they already made for her. So I'm sure you've seen, there was a movie called Point of No Return with something Fonda, not Jane Fonda, but her daughter. I forget her name, something Fonda, and it was the same story. La Femme Nikita. There was also another movie with the girl who played Mystique in the first X-Men series. I forget her name. She played in the movie too. But this was a good show. They had a lot of that terminology and stuff in there. So I used that also. La Femme Nikita. I got that on DVD along with Kiefer Sutherland. So I got those. And what else did I use? I believe that's Alias. Alias with Jennifer Garner. Jennifer. That's when, well, she was skinny, and she was kicking men's butts too, but she was using kickboxing. And I could believe a female kicking a dude in the head and putting him down at least. And it was more like how she would fight dudes a little bit more like how Scarlett Johansson in Black Widow, how she fights men, a lot of strikes, and before she can put them down, not just one hit of quitters like they doing in these TV shows these days, trying to make these little bony bitches think that they can just knock a motherfucker out. These wimpy ass dudes that's coming up today, they don't want to put no muscle on, and they all vegan and all of that. Yeah, but yeah, maybe them they can knock out, because I don't believe in nobody hitting me and getting away with it. Nobody. So if you say, "Oh, he believes in hitting women," I never hit a woman in my life, but will I? You goddamn Skippy. My pops always told me, if you man enough to step up and hit a man, then you man enough to get hit by a man. So that's only reserved for people who strike me first. I would treat you just like you was a man. You hit me, I'm gonna bust your shit. Bust your head to the white meat. I'm not gonna fuck around with you. I don't care. I take my punishment, but nobody will be. You ain't my mama. Only my mama, and my mom's is gone. So only my mama get that privilege. Fuck that. Only person who can put their hands on me with no repercussion. Fuck that. So that was my second story. So, but I got like, let me see, I've got three to four demon stories, demonic type stories. And those were, let me see, I got one about Revelations. We're at the end of the world. Revelations. And you're actually living through it. It's called The Judged. The Judged. The Judged. The Judged. Oh no, that's backwards. The Judged. And I'm not going to tell you about that neither. This is just saying. Another one is about the telling how the universe or how everything came into, or telling how the devil got tempted. That's what the second one is. It's a story of how the devil got tempted and how the war between good and evil got started. Right? That's the second one. I don't know what I'm going to tell you what that's called. I got a few different stories about demons. I got one that's called This World Is Ours. This World Is Ours. And that's a crazy story. I can't tell you about. I can't tell you about it, but I got, like I said, I got a bunch of stories. I got, so that's three. I have one called The Vatican. And there's another one where there's these priests, bunch of priests. And it has nothing to do with these other ones. This is totally different. This is a separate idea. Probably could be a comic book or something like that. Um, um, yeah, it's about priests, and it's basically fighting evil, doing exorcisms and stuff. But they like a brotherhood, and it's interesting. I haven't fully fleshed it out. That's why I don't really have a name for it yet or nothing like that. But I've got a bunch of titles in the back of my Bible that I could probably hit it with. And then I've got, what else? Um I do want to do my own Star Wars type of story, but that's gonna be crazy in a galaxy not too far away. um Okay, I got demons. I got my twin assassin story. I have I have dragons. Dragons. Dragons in modern times. Modern era. And I'm not going to tell you about that one either because motherfuckers are gonna have to pay to get down on some of these, or I'm gonna have to get to writing them, or no, not writing them, because a lot of these are in progress. There's a lot to them, especially this one. There's a lot to this one, but it's not finished because it's an ongoing. I think it's like a series. It's an ongoing joint. It's another one that I think that will make a really good TV show. Really good. It's called Dragon's Keep. Really great story, man, in the modern era. And then I have, and then I have, um, then we got stories like we have a story where gods come to the earth. And this is just some regular stories where It has nothing to do with might. They won't be in the might universe at all. Nothing like that. All of these stories that I'm talking about now are not in the might universe. These are separate. They might be in the might. They might be part of the Goddom universe or the Goddom story, but they're not part of or the Goddom comics, right? Under the banner of Gotham Comics, but they're not going to be part of the Might universe. You'll never meet any of these characters in the Might universe. All right, these are separate stories that I was creating long before Might, and I would definitely like to see some of them hit the mainstream somewhere. And okay, so this is where gods come back to the earth, and or not come back to earth, come to earth. Gods come to earth. That's not what it's called. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what I haven't looked over these titles and stuff in a while because I'm focusing on other stories at the moment. So I haven't gone back to these, but I've done a lot of work on this. I've done a lot of work on these two. The Twin Assassin story? No, the Stone God, I mean, not Blade Runner. Not Blade Runner. I had nothing to do with Blade Runner. I had nothing to do. Okay. Um, Besides watching it. But the Twin Assassin and the Stone, I have. Ooh, Twin Assassin story is almost ready to go. I would say. Again, the ending. The ending is because it's hard to end something. You have to have a big epic something, but it has to always I want it to have meaning too, and finding that sometimes it just doesn't come right away. So and then I got sidetracked too. So with a lot of stories here. So and there's gods came to earth, and there's another one where aliens come to earth. But it's different. It's different. It's come to earth. These are separate stories too. All of these. And then I have one about wizards because I was a big magic dude. I always liked magic and wizards and the whole idea of witchcraft and wizardry. It's not witchcraft, but wizardry. And just having things pop up at you. So I always loved the fact of magic. So I had this story. Well, that's also why I was created the Stone God, but because that has all of that in it. So, but I have a story where there are wizards in modern era, and they are battling and going to war with each other. Will I be able to tell you the name of that? Yeah, yeah. Wizards in Modern Time, and it's called The Lock. So, okay, dragons, gods, aliens, wizards, then a bunch of demon stories. Yeah, because I grew up, you got to remember, y'all don't get any really good spooky ghost stories. I grew up in the days of The Omen and Damien Omen 2. Omen and Omen 2. Oh, 2. Omen 2, where this one was better to me than the Omen, but they are both on the same level. The third one fell off big time, but uh Omen and Omen 2, ooh, that shook me, man. I I, I always was fascinated after that with demon shit and demonology. Well, I never looked into it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not no cultist or nothing like that. But watching movies talk about good versus evil and fighting demons and all of that stuff, that shit always fascinated me. Always fascinated. The Exorcist, stuff like that. I love that type of shit. I love watching shit like that. So anime with a lot of demons and all of that crazy shit that they do in those, like Demon City. There was a movie back in the day called Demon City. Look it up on YouTube. I think you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, called Demon City. And that was one of my fascinating. I love those types of animes that deals with demons and fighting off demons and being possessed and all of that type of stuff, because anime gets bloody and gory with it. So I love that shit. So yeah, I have all of, that's why I'm into these demon stories. Oh, I love telling these stories. I got a few of them. So even in Mike, we're gonna have magic in where there's gonna be a book that spins off from from along with Cameo, Everman, and my Nebula character down the line. After they see the first, I want to do a launch this year, and then for the first book of Might, and then when the second book comes out next year, after I fulfill my book, and we start the second campaign, then we're gonna come out with Might and those three characters, uh, the Nebula character, Everman, and Cameo, and then maybe a year or two after that, then we'll bring out the Magic dudes, and then maybe a year or two after that, we'll come out with some other character that I want to bring, or we'll bring him into Might and let them hang out with Mike for a few issues before he jumps out on his own. You know, that's how I want to do. Or come into the pages of one of the other characters. Maybe it can come into, just like how Mike is going to be this avenue that introduces new characters and expands the universe every time a new character is introduced, because Mike is going to be introducing different realms. Like we're going to be dealing with demons and stuff. Then we're going to deal with magic. So when we bring in new characters, it's going to deal with another realm that we haven't touched on already. Just like how my Nebula character is going to deal with outer space, and even Cameo has something to do with outer space too, but not as much. That's going to be touched on. I'm going to talk about all of that during the launch, because that's when we're going to have so much to talk about. I'm telling you, whoever has me on their live streams, we're going to be talking for hours. It's not like how I talk with how you hear those guys in Comicsgate talk about their project, and they only going to talk about their one little project, and that's it. I'm going to be hitting you with all of these different characters. You're going to be talking about Mega and his origin story. You're going to be talking about Cube to the second power and his origin story. We're going to be talking about the bad guy tech dude from the Maddox Industries, or Mad Tech, because he working at Mad Tech. So with the AI character, Cube to the second power. So those guys are going to be coming out of Mad Tech, and they're going to split, and one's going to be good and one's going to be bad. And you're going to have some typical tropes, I guess, at first, but as you get to see my characters unfold, you'll see how my stories are going to be all my own ideas. I'm trying not to, I haven't read comic books in a long time. So, or everything that I'm coming up with is stuff that I've just brought together in my mind. Now, whether it comes from some TV show I've seen or something that probably I believe everything has been done. It's just for me to tell my story in the way that I interpret things, so that I can bring you something new from a new perspective, mind. And it's not going to have nobody's politics in it. Well, it's going to have politics, of course. Everything has politics, but it's going to be the politics of the comic book, the politics of my Illuminati groups, the politics of the government in my stories. It's going to be the politics of the characters in my stories. It's not going to be it will be mine's, but most of my politics that I will rant about, that you might hear me talk about on my other channel, I Monstrositus X, like in my Matrix Doctrine. If you ever watch one of those, you hear me talking about how the world is fake. Everything, you actually are living in the Matrix, and I truly believe that, because everything we do is made up. Everything from the laws to how you live, fashion, everything somebody determines for you to then pick up. So you're not living free on your own. You're basically being mind molded into living a certain way. You don't have the freedom that you think. So, okay, you say this guy's crazy, but okay, I'll take that and give that ideology to one of my bad guys, because I know, just like how Magneto, he has an unpopular belief system, but he's considered a bad guy, but he actually is fighting for the good of mutants. So he's really kind of an anti-hero in some ways. So that's how I'm going to do with some of my characters. I'm going to have my ideologies on different shit. I'll give them to the bad guys and then let the good guys, because the good guys don't really have ideologies. They really just, we fight for justice, truth. The good guys are nobody. That's why I said they're basically cookie cutters. You have the heroes and you have your anti-heroes. You have your bubbly type heroes like the Flash, and then you have your dark superheroes like Batman. So they're cookie cutters, but the bad guys, you really can delve deep into your bad guys. And that's where I say I don't really care for the characters that Marvel, the black characters especially, that Marvel has created, because if you look from my perspective, all of the main black characters are pussies, or in some way they weren't created for me. They weren't. Power Man, I got Power Man books, but he had horrible bad guys. I didn't really care for the bad guys that he fought against. You didn't really have some really good bad guys in my opinion. It's like Batman. I wasn't a Batman fan until he was in the Justice League animated series, and that's when I started respecting the man, when he was going over there throwing shots at Superman. Imagine a human trying to throw shots at Superman. And he's he goes up to him in World's Finest. There's this part of the TV show, the Superman animated series. There was these 3 episodes that they combined together, and they put out a separate movie of it. And it was called World's Finest, where the Joker goes to Metropolis with this hunk of kryptonite, and goes to Lex Luthor and says, yo, hit me off if I take out Superman for you on the DL. So that's what he tries to do, and Batman follows him over there. He finds out what's going on with the statue, this jade statue that the Joker stole, and he follows him because he knows what time it is, that was kryptonite. So he goes heading straight to, he knows what the Joker's thinking, so he makes a beeline for Metropolis too. And the first thing he does is go straight at the underworld in Metropolis, and Superman comes to him and says, you got some nerve coming in my spot wrecking shit. And Batman goes right at him, grabs him, and throws his ass across the room. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Batman's the badass. yes, because anybody who would go straight at Superman like that and catch him off guard, because that's the only way you're gonna throw Superman like that. A regular dude throws Superman, and that's what he did. And from that point forward, because you got to remember, I grew up with that wimpy Batman from the 60s. Y'all might like them, but I didn't. I hated that Batman. I thought they was really bitch made. I thought they was really soft. And when they had him and Robin fighting the Green Hornet and Kato, and then they beat the Green Hornet and Kato. Oh, you should have seen me lose it. And I was a little kid back then. I lost it because Bruce Lee was the shit back then. It was like the 60s, early 70s, and Bruce Lee was watching Bruce Lee kick your ass in Green Hornet. And even over in China, it was called the Green Hornet, the Kato show. So we was watching it for Kato. We liked the Green Hornet, but we was watching it for Kato because Bruce Lee was the shit. So, and then he came out with his movies, and that was it. So I didn't really care for Batman. So when uh I saw the animated series in the 90s, I didn't really like a lot of his bad guys. And they kind of I like Batman, but Ra's al Ghul, Clayface, Bane, yeah, that's when I was perk up. And I got the series. I got it on DVD, all of them, all 4 seasons. So I got them, but it's just that I didn't like it until he went to Superman, because they merged the two, because one was on one channel and one was on the other, and then they brought Batman over to Superman's channel, and they turned it into the Batman Superman hour. And I used to watch it. I was a grown man in the 90s, like my 30s, but I was watching that shit. So uh I loved that shit. The stories and how they grew. The bad guys are getting a little bit more, how like Brainiac would keep coming back, and each time he would be more dangerous, threatening in a different manner, this way, that way. And so all of these things intrigued me. So now that I got the chance to make Might, that's what I'm trying to do. I want to have that same type of experience for my characters. And I'm trying my best to create those little intricacies where the dude you might think that he's gone and then he pops back up later on. But that's going to be hard because I don't want to rip off no Brainiac shit. But because you might expect that I'm gonna come out with some cybernetic dude that can't be. No, I'm gonna find some other way of doing that. Some other character. I'm gonna find some way, but I'm gonna do it. You better believe that shit, because I got so many. I'm telling you. When you see the amount of characters, and they're not bullshit characters, they're not characters that's just going to be thrown at you without any, they're just a bunch of strong dudes in different outfits or different looks. No, I'm going to try and make as many abilities as I can, man. I'm literally trying to create the next Marvel or the next DC, where I have so many different variety of characters with varieties of abilities, and not just gonna be dudes with swords swinging at each other, or dudes with guns shooting at each other, or dudes with hammers and stuff. No, they're gonna have abilities. They're gonna be able to knock stuff around and do certain things. Not everybody. Of course, you're going to see some characters are going to show similar type stuff to what you've already seen. I'm not going to be messing with any speedsters right now, so I'm not trying to get into that realm for right now. I'm saying I don't know. I got a character called Dart, and I don't know what I want to do with him. So you know, and so I'm not trying to mess with speedsters, right? Not saying that I'm not gonna have any, but I'm not gonna be focusing on speedsters because I don't know. I think speedsters are a little bit of a ripoff. I'd rather then I have to start thinking about how to stop them and all of that stuff, and I don't want to get into that. I want to deal with the characters that I got, the abilities that I've created. So there's a bunch of guys that I want to bring to you guys in this mic thing, and there's going to be a few groups that's going to come out of it. But then, like I said, I've got all of these extra stories that once might is out there and we start building a following, then I can start, hey, yo, you want to, if you like wizards or if you like aliens or you like to tell these kinds of stories, I'll get somebody. Maybe they don't want to do maybe the artists don't want to do superheroes, you know, maybe they want to do wizards and dragons and something different, or demons and stuff like that. So I've got these other stories. Maybe they want to do a futuristic type of story with assassins and stuff. I got it. So that's what I'm saying. I've got all of these extra stories, and so when we start getting out there and people understand that we're doing this, that we're gonna bring you might and the stories, and you're gonna love what I'm bringing to you, and the way that I'm telling my stories and introducing my characters and action that I'm gonna be bringing to you. This is when I'm going to be at my happiest, because then I know that I'll be able to say, hey, well, this isn't a superhero, but these are the types of stories that you might want to get into, or and they're coming from the mind of the godling, the godling, the creator. Now that's just basically a demigod. And that's where I get the whole idea of the goddom. See, this is the goddom. This is where demigods come to create stories. So anybody who's created a comic book of their own for other people to delve into and to get lost into for that little bit of entertainment for 20 minutes or however long it takes you to peruse a comic book, that's where I say you could come here and you're an honorary demigod, because if you've got a book out there already, you've already done it. I'm trying to become a demigod. I am trying to become part of, by putting my might out there for you guys. So I am Monstrositus X, but I've been godling a lot longer. Yeah, ever since I created this book, ever since I created this my Bible, ever since I created this Bible, no, this is it. The thousands of names. There's over 10,000. There's 3 composition notebooks, over 10,000 names in here. I'm gonna I did a video showing the very first page. So the first page of my Bible, I've been looking through it. I'm gonna do the 28th page. That's in the first book. This is a 100-page notebook, so there should be 50 pages is where I started. 50 pages in the back is where I started. So the 28th page in is the next page that I'm going to show, and then I'm going to actually do some, because I know I can't use all of them. So I show you how I create my characters. And I don't want to do that because then I'm going to get competition. I'm going to get competition. Because then if you see how to do it, it's going to be easier for you to do it. And then the same names, I already got names that people are using, and that's in my Bible. So and I don't want to use somebody else's name that they've already used, but I'm going to. There's one character that I'm definitely going to use. I forget his name. Andrew something. Andrew. He came up with the book Sovereign. Well, I had already created Sovereign character way back in the 90s, so he's gonna be in Might, but he's not gonna have a big role. He's gonna be one of my overpowered superheroes. See, Might is not overpowered. He's a Superman type character, but he's not overpowered like Superman. He's not as strong as Superman. So I have characters who are strong, overpowered like Superman. So we'll get into all of that when you get the book and you get all of the details and you get to see stuff like that and get to see uh trading cards and power levels and all of these things, and you get to know his backgrounds and all of that stuff like that, because we're going to talk about his backgrounds and stuff in the book, but his origin story is going to come later when the story gets a little bit more heated and more pointed towards what happened back in the 60s, because that's when he was created. And the story's taking place now in our time, nowadays, in present era, present time, in Portsburg, USA, which is a made-up city that I have a few of those. So there's going to be a few cities, Cliffside, Cliff Falls is going to be a city. Cliff Falls City is going to be a city that's going to be part of the Might. It's going to be 3 cities connected: Legend City, Portsburg, and Cliff Falls. And they're going to be using the same ports that's in Portsburg, because Portsburg is on the water. And the other 2 cities are further inland, which will give me an opportunity to create other places for superheroes to come from. Not only that, smuggling type situations and all of these types of things. So, which is, I do have a story that's directly connected to why I wanted to have separate cities without having to say, well, it's coming from Kentucky or Minnesota or something. I didn't want to give away, because most created cities, they don't really give away their location. They don't tell you that it's here specifically on the map, right? In the United States. They might tell you it's on the East Coast, or they might say it's on the West Coast, or they just might tell you that it's a coastal city, but they don't specifically tell you where it is. Cause so you don't go looking on the map for it, and because you don't need those types of references. You want it to be vague so that they can imagine, make it up for yourself. But yeah, Portsburg is a coastal city, and it's going to be a badass. I can't wait for you guys to get it, and I hope that I'm able to do what I want to do with it. That way, y'all will be able to get the whole story, well, the whole first uh, episodes or issue, the whole first story that I want to tell, with the cliffhangers and the conclusions that I want to tell. Because if I have to shorten it, uh, it's I think I might lose something. I think I might. So anyway, yeah, this is what I'm doing, man. I got a lot of characters. Oh, that's one of the names. That's one of the names. There we go. Yeah, just trying to come up with a bunch of different designs without having it look like I'm, because sometimes you get into the habit of creating and then you use the same thing over and over. Like, I think what's his face? Rob Liefeld. He had a lot of characters with stuff around his face or stuff around their face. Like they would have a lot of them would have masks around their face or something. And you know that it was a Rob Liefeld character because they had certain types of mask designs that came across their face like this, or the pointed ear thing few of his characters had. So I'm trying to not mimic my repeat myself with ideas, and that's where I'm, because you tend to go with what you know and what you like, and what works for you or what you feel works. And when you start searching for other things and pushing it, then it becomes, I don't know. And that's where, so, but it's not me, I have to believe that even though I might not be 100% with it, the public might say, "Hey, man, that's great. What the fuck?" So I have to be accepting and patient and all of this stuff because I don't know. I don't know. I've never sold anything to people, and that's my concern, man. It's nerve wracking. It bothers me to the nth degree, man. I'm telling you. Uh, it racks my nerves because I never had nerves when it comes to drawing. I just would draw, create stories, man. Is because it was for me. I never had to worry about what somebody thought about it because it was for me. But now I'm concerned if I'm an amateur delivering amateuristic bullshit, even though I don't think so. I'm telling you that 100%. But of course, it concerns me. So no matter what, I'm growing. I'm gonna grow, and I can do not. I'm gonna listen to what people like and I'm gonna fill any holes. I'm gonna make sure that I'm not leaving gaping holes or leaving plot lines with these gaps and stories that leave you wondering, yo, what? How did he get there from there and all of that? I'm double checking things and yeah, so that's what's going on with my stories, man. So just like how I gave a little description of the glyph today, I'm gonna try and do some of that with some of these other stories. I gotta set it up though, because I don't want to give away anything that's gonna have people trying to steal my shit. you know, so I want to just put a little something out there that so that y'all can understand where I'm coming from and you can see where my head's at when I'm telling stories, man. Or yeah, and and then we'll, like I said, there's always going to be more stories to tell because I still got uh the bounty hunters and the Star Wars story that I was working on that I got to finish, and I really, damn, it's late. Missed a long time. I missed the spot at the door. Okay, yeah, but I really want to work back on get to work and finishing up doing more on that Star Wars story because I believe that that's a really good way to go. I know they're not gonna use it. They got their own idiot stuff. They're doubling and tripling down with this feminist crap instead of just creating a good Star Wars movie. People are not going to go see that, and from what I understand, it's going to be even worse with Lord of the Rings because I will not go see it. I do not want to see black people in Lord of the Rings. I do not want to see it, and I'm a black man. I do not want to see black people in Lord of the Rings. I grew up on Lord of the Rings in the '60s, well, not in the '60s, in the '70s. They came out with the Hobbit. It was an animated TV show. That movie. It was musical. It was made for kids because it was music and all of that, but it was a good story. They show people getting killed. Well, they show the orcs getting killed and stuff. But I think they did show people getting killed on both sides. But it still was musically inclined. See, they wasn't so tender with kids back in the day. They showed y'all stuff. They treated us a little bit more like adults. Like we wasn't so fragile. Nowadays they want to moisturize and pasteurize everything so that there's no violence for the children. That's all they can see. See, back in the days, we was able to watch Disney movies without the violence, and then watch stuff like Star Wars and other things that had violence that they didn't defend us from. Johnny Quest, people died in almost every episode of Johnny Quest. They didn't show it, but people died. You'd see the bad guy falling off the cliff and screaming to his death, or getting grabbed by the monster and taken to his final peril. That's what I'm saying. We was treated like we understood. Hey, people die. Now, how dare you? Don't show this to the children. But then they want to have the same children being taught all kinds of sexual stuff. No. So, yeah, time flew. Okay, I was having fun. That's why I gotta get back into this, but I really gotta complete this sign up stuff so that y'all can see what I'm working with Might and get y'all into here, and I really can't wait for you to see what I'm trying to bring you guys. Those are all bad guys that's gonna be in the. I got so many bad guys because there's bad guys that's going to be the main fighting opposition in the first book, and then there's going to be bad guys in the background that's going to be long-term bad guys, and then there's going to be bad guys who are the rogues gallery that you see regularly get beat up and arrested and whatever, back and forth, those types of dudes. So yeah, but the underworld bad guys and the gangs and stuff like that, those are intricate to the storytelling. So those are the ones that's gonna be the yummies. That's why I don't include them in the rogues gallery, because even though like even though the Illuminati groups, they're gonna be kind of there all the time, I'm not gonna be considering them part of the rogues gallery, because it's gonna be a while before Mike even knows who any of those are, or even that they exist. So they're basically gonna be in the background for you guys to see, and you witness how they come together and unfold, how things unfold. That's basically how I want to tell those stories. So we have a lot to work with, man. This guy right here, I don't know if I want him to make him an alien or somebody from a group but then I started to how his origin, how he became who this guy is. I wanted him to be able to fly. And I call him Boris because he looks something like Boris Karloff. I don't know, y'all might not know who Boris Karloff is, but he played the Mummy back in the day. I think he played Dracula too. So the original. And so he played the Mummy, and he played he looks something like Boris Karloff when I looked at him. So I call him Boris. But his name is Premise, and I'm not saying anything else. You can see what it says. You can figure it's pronounced. Excuse me. This is pronounced Feng. It's pronounced Feng. It has to do with him, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. We have to find out more later, another time. So always working on different stuff, always trying to, because these guys are going to be in the book sometime or another. They're going to be in the book. They might not all be in the first book, but you're going to see them. So I have to, there's going to be a lot of places that I have to write. There's things that I have to write just to, so that I know how the stories are going to go or how they can implicate each other or affect each other down the line with characters and different things. So I have a lot of stuff that I'm looking into as far as future stuff down the line, how things are coming together and how they're unfolding, because I want these characters and what do they call that? The continuity. I want the continuity to stay right. I don't want things to go crazy and be all off the rails and stuff like that. So yeah, this is going to be a really good story. I have the stories, like I said, a lot of the story, especially the first book, is mostly all tied down. It's the little details that how people come to learn certain details, and I don't want it to. I don't want everything to feel familiar. I want some things to feel fresh. So I'm trying to find new ways to attack the story and how things are revealed, and so that it some things come as a surprise in some ways, and that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to have enough things that can lead your mind, like have red herrings, so that you think things one way, and then when I reveal it, you go, "Oh, okay." That was a surprise, you know. I'm trying to have these types of things. I'm paying attention to different types of stories, and how people reveal things and break shit down, so that when I do it, it can be a surprise. Things that catch me by surprise. I'm trying to follow that example and see how I can use that in revealing my story plot points and stuff like that. And yeah, that's basically what I'm trying to accomplish here, man. So yeah, we're gonna get off of here and get us something to eat, because I'm hungry. And I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna keep working on some of these characters. And this guy's gonna be a powerful dude, because I on this particular group, I got a lot of ground-based dudes, or guys that don't fly, is what I should say. And I started to say, hey, I gotta make a dude who could fly, because I got a lot of flying guys on the good guys. So I said, I gotta make some guys. So I had to reevaluate the a few of the bad guys that I had on the group, because I was saying, hold on, man, you can't have them all earthbound, you know. You gotta have, like, okay, if you got 10 or 12 of them, because I got 12 good guys. So if I got 12, 15, 16 bad guys, gotta have around 4 or 5 of them all together that could fly, you know, in some manner or not. So, yeah, so I had to go back in and evaluate the characters, because I got dudes like, oh, I can't tell you his name. Oh, I showed one or two. Yeah, well, there's a couple of characters that's basically their names sound like they're earthbound, that they're not flying nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And that's how they was all lining up. They didn't sound too tough, even though they're gonna have ships and stuff like that too. But I want to have some characters who can bang it out in the air. You know, can't be all earthbound characters, and the superheroes is the one who's coming down to the ground to meet the the bad guys. So we can have some of them like that, but not all of them. So I'm digging back through the Bible and, like I said, reevaluating some of the guys and working with some of the other guys because the characters on the the underworld, because I have an underworld group that works separately, independently, and they're headed up by this dude called. They're the guild. They're called the guild. They're called the guild, right? And they work underworld. They're an underworld organization where they mostly deal with illegal characters. You know, they don't. If they do deal with legitimate stuff, legitimate people, it's because they're forced to, or the people who they deal with are forced to deal with them, the bad guys. So the guild, or because they fucked up and they needed to come to the guild for some other reason or whatever, and became a victim. So they were subjugated by the guild in some way, and but usually by their own doings. It's not like the guild went out searching for them. You know, gambling debt, something stupid like that. Somebody stole from them or something. You know. So anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. It's after 4 o'clock. Maybe, maybe we should. Maybe we should. Um, maybe we should. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, and I guess story time. I thank you guys for coming through. Please share, subscribe, do all of that YouTube thing. Oh, what? I missed the comments. Oh, Doodle Squad. Yo, sound, no sound. No sound again. What the heck happened? How did that happen? Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, it's back. Well, I don't know what happened when that happened. Maybe that was early. Maybe that was early. Doodle Squatch tried to hit me up. Okay, mute button is out to get you. Okay, sound is good now. Okay. Ninja Scroll, yeah. Yeah, all right. Hey, I gotta go. Enjoy the stream. Thanks for coming through, Doodle Squatch. Thanks for coming through. We appreciated it. I wish I'd have checked. I gotta get back into the habit of coming in and checking again. So thanks for leaving some messages and letting me know that the mute was on. I did figure that out, and I got that shit working back again. So thanks again for coming through. Please like and subscribe and do that YouTube thing, share it, do whatever you can so we can build this up and be a better promoter for Might, the graphic novel, which is going to be coming out very, very soon. thanks for coming through, and we're gonna go eat. I appreciate you all, and yeah, till the next time. We're gonna be maybe come through in I Monstrosities X channel and Monday night for at 7 o'clock for the Matrix Doctrine. We're gonna be talking about the government, and how the government is just a system of control meant to control people and make y'all do what they want, making y'all slaves, man. All right, till next time. I'm out.